Hello, I'm Janet Woodcock, Director of the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And I'd like to talk a bit about the promise of modern scientific advances in bringing new treatments to patients. Now, we've come a long way in the last 10 years. U.S., European, Japanese, and regulators around the world have been working together on international harmonization and collaboration. And with many initiatives, we've brought new science into the drug development regulatory process. For example, across many regions, there are biomarker qualification programs in order to bring new biomarkers and understanding of disease into clinical evaluation. And these have been very successful and are moving forward. More recently, we've worked on patient-focused drug development and making sure that the person who's going to take the medicine, the person with the disease, is front and center in the development process. So these things have been really important in modernizing, as science evolves, the drug development process from the regulator's point of view. Of course, in the companies and in academia that are developing this new science, it moves forward of its own pace, and regulation reciprocally has to keep up. Now, this time is the time of probably the greatest scientific advances in biology that we've ever seen, and the greatest promise for treating diseases, particularly genetic diseases, rare diseases, and of course cancer. And so the promise is almost greater than ever before. But at the same time, the need for clinical evaluation of this new science is heightened, and the clinical evaluation is actually proving a bottleneck in moving therapies between the bench and to patients. And this has actually been true for some time. The practice that we've been doing since the 70s is to do one-off trials, a series of trials testing a single hypothesis for a single new intervention over and over again. Each one of these may take 1 to 2 years to complete, and then you may go on to another trial. And this pace and this consumption of resources on every single innovation that would be tested is really sapping the ability of the system to keep up. So the system that we've had in place for evaluating in the clinic new innovations has become more and more cumbersome, slow, and expensive, to the point where it's really inhibiting development and evaluation of new therapies. And sometimes this is viewed as a regulatory problem, but really this is a problem we all share. We're all going to have to deal with this problem. Now, we have been talking about possible solutions for a number of years, and probably one of the more viable solutions would be to use master protocols or platform trials and have a more adaptive, seamless development program. And what am I talking about there? Well, master protocols are protocols that can cover many different hypotheses at once. They're ongoing rather than starting and stopping. And a master protocol frequently will be seeking to improve the outcomes of a disease rather than simply test a single intervention. So you can do multiple tests of interventions within a single master protocol. And using adaptive designs, you can enter assets into the development, master protocol, then you can pull them out if they fail and cycle more in. So you're continuing the trial, you're continuing to evaluate new interventions and potentially biomarkers, diagnostics, and other types of things without stopping, declaring an end, disassembling all the trial apparatus, and perhaps a year later starting over. Some of these master protocols are ongoing right now, particularly in cancer. However, many other areas are picking them up. And I hope that we will see more seamless, adaptive clinical development programs throughout the industry and throughout many diseases. Now, the patient-focused drug development is also, I think, a very important new modernization or facet of how we do drug development and look at, evaluate new therapies. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you think about the patient, you want to know what is the burden of disease from the point of view of the patient. What is the burden of current treatments? What would they really like to have improved? What's important to them in a clinical trial? Is it the frequency of visits? Is it the intensity of the evaluations? Is it what is evaluated? So at every step of the way, from even conceiving of a new therapy to doing the evaluation in the clinic, patient input can be completely transformative in thinking about how you actually evaluate such treatments. And more patients are getting involved in this. In the United States, we've had dozens of patient-focused drug development meetings where patients get together and share experiences and tell us about their disease and their experience of disease. And what we've learned there is that really patients are experts at their disease, people with chronic diseases. They've lived with that disease. And for them to share that information and get it back is incredibly impactful to us. Patients also, as a result of this, have been trying to develop new outcome measures that really measure the things they care about in their disease. And they also have even been thinking about doing master protocols, platform trials to really better serve their needs of getting effective therapies more quickly. Now, to serve the needs of patient-focused drug development, FDA has been developing multiple guidance documents directed at those who would engage in this patient-focused drug development. The first guidance really has to do with how you would collect valid, reliable information from patients, making sure that you have a representative range of people, because of course no single person can represent the face of a disease. People have different experiences within the disease. Secondly, we're going to have guidances on how to assemble that, how to decide whether or not you could need to develop patient-reported outcome measures. There will be guidance on how to develop such measures and make them that valid and reliable information that regulators can use, and so forth. So we hope to really energize the patient community to contribute to drug development in a more meaningful way. And this will be a real aspect of modernization. As far as the master protocols and platform trials, it's hoped that clinical evaluation can gradually be transformed to something more patient-focused, more disease-focused, something that's really trying to improve outcomes of disease over time rather than test individual interventions. And there are experiments going on in the United States to use more real-world evidence or to perform trials in the context of clinical care, rather than having the clinical evaluation system, the clinical research system, be something that is done outside of the clinical care environment. Bringing these two groups back together, these two enterprises back together, will be really important. And experiments such as the collaboratory that NIH has run and the PCORNet, which is a network of sites, clinical sites that work together to do clinical research within healthcare system. I think these are sort of strands of the future modernization that need to be brought forward. More experiments need to be done, and we really need to utilize this information that is generated in healthcare in a much better way. So the future, I think, may be improving for clinical evaluation. However, we have to keep in mind that the trajectory of scientific discovery is going so fast that really more modernization may be needed, both of regulators and within the industry. We've seen evidence of therapies that are literally developed for a single person, true personalized medicine. And I think as a genetic revolution continues to evolve, we're going to see more of this. And we're going to have to figure out how you deal with such a scenario. And of course, at some point, the costs and the cost benefit come into play there. So in closing, I really believe modernization is needed, and I believe it's modernization of the clinical trial system, the way we evaluate in clinic new interventions, whether they're devices, drugs, behavioral modifications, or whatever, to really bring the promise of modern science to the patients. We need to have a system that is fast, flexible, adaptable, and not as expensive as what we currently have today. And of course, regulators must modernize. Companies and those developing new interventions have to help with the experimentation. And at the center of things, we really need to have the patients. They're the core of the focus that we must have if we're going to deliver a 21st century evaluation system. Thank you very much.